Hey guys, so in this video, I wanted to really quickly go back over some of the dimensions of attitude strength. We talked about a few in class, but I just want to really quickly review some. So first, accessibility. Attitudes that are more accessible, meaning they're more, it's easier to bring them up in memory. These tend to be stronger attitudes. So the more accessible an attitude, the stronger it is, and therefore the more accessible an attitude, the more impactful it is on information processing, the more impactful it is on behavior, the more resistant to change change attempts, or just change in general, and the more persistent over time it is. So the more accessible it is, the more accessible an attitude is, the more, the stronger it is. All right. And then there are others. For example, certainty. Certainty refers to the degree to which a person is confident that this particular attitude is correct. Now, your book talks about how there has been some work suggesting that certainty has two subcomponents: basic correctness, all right, and oh, I forget the other one off the top of my head. Clarity. So correctness is basically the degree to which a person views that attitude as being one that people adopt. As being an attitude that. So attitude certainty, one component of it is correctness, which is the degree to which they think people think that attitude is right. All right. In fact, in the study that your book cites by Perticelli and Tormla, I forget the third author, but they manipulate correctness by manipulating the degree to which people think that other people agree with them on their attitude. So they used a consensus manipulation. Specifically, they told people the vast majority, I think it was like 89% of students agree with their attitude, or the vast minority agree. So I think it was, it was something, I think it was in the teens. I don't remember the exact percentage, but it was really low. So when people thought that the majority of people indeed thought that their attitude was correct, they felt that their attitude was more correct, and they felt more certain about their attitude. With clarity, on the other hand, it seems to be more of a matter of just how certain, how clear their attitude is to them. So so this aspect of certainty is how clear they are on their attitude. So how certain are they that they know their own attitude? All right, and you would assume, and indeed Petrocelli and Tormela did assume, that the more a person expressed a particular attitude, the more certain they would be, and indeed that's what they found. So with it, what they did is they manipulated expressions. So some people expressed it, I believe, 2 times. It might have been 3. Using different, so they reported their attitude towards a certain attitude object 1 or 2 or 3 times. All right, I can't remember if the multiple expression was 2 or 3 times, but it was more than once. So they either expressed their attitude once, or they expressed their attitude multiple times. And they found that when people had expressed their attitude multiple times, they felt that they were more clear on their attitude, and this ultimately led them to have greater attitude certainty. So this particular dimension of attitude strength, which is attitude certainty, breaks down into 2 components of its own, 2 subcomponents: clarity and correctness. Okay. So you've got accessibility, we've got clarity. Petrocelli and Tormela found at least in their first study, that there was some indication that certainty works through accessibility. So if you were certain about your attitude, you responded quicker, meaning you had greater attitude accessibility. All right, so some of these dimensions of attitude strength can build on one another, apparently. Now, in addition to accessibility and certainty, we have other things like, well, your book mentions extremity. So attitudes that are more extreme tend to be stronger. But there are also other dimensions. So, for example, knowledge. People's attitudes that they have more knowledge about tend to be stronger attitudes. Okay, so accessibility, certainty, extremity, and knowledge. And that's only 4 of the 12 dimensions of attitude strength that have been identified in the literature. Another one is importance. All right, so how important a particular attitude is to you. All right, so the more important the attitude is, the stronger the attitude. You can probably imagine that a lot of political attitudes, a lot of religious attitudes, are very important to people, and for those reasons, those attitudes are very strong for them, and therefore, just like all strong attitudes, they're resistant to change, persistent over time, influential for both information processing and behavior. All right, that is the quick attitude strength lecture that I want to provide. If you have any questions, be sure to send those bad boys my way. But that's all for this video.